Getting the lead out of Chicago's drinking water, it's a very heavy lift that will take decades to complete at a cost that could soar to $14 billion or more. But according to WBEZ and Climate Science News, the city of Chicago has sat on tens of millions in federal loans that will help pay to replace some of the more than 400,000 lead service lines that go to Chicago homes. The problem is that money expires next year. City Water Department officials testified yesterday that under state and federal rules, they are mandated to inform all Chicago renters, landlords, and homeowners about the lead service replacement program and to provide testing kits. But they've admitted they've only sent out letters to about 8% of Chicago's population. Why? Because mailing a lot of notifications and test kits costs a lot of money, and the majority of recipients are not paying attention to the mail.
The cost associated with that is very large, millions of dollars in terms of administrative and postage fees. Additionally, when we've done large mailings in the past, we receive approximately 10 to 12% of folks receiving those letters asking for a follow-on test kit. If we've sent out 900,000 letters, we would expect somewhere in the order of 100,000 lead testing kit requests. That would essentially be 2/3 of the entire program that we've run since 2016.
There you see a Water Department official testifying before City Council yesterday. Now, health experts say that children exposed to even small amounts of lead in drinking water or even in paint or other objects, by the way, run the risk of being exposed to toxins that could impact their cognitive, emotional, and social development. It's a ticking time bomb, as Alderman Gilbert Villegas put it. But the federal government seems unwilling to spend any more money helping municipalities with Chicago these days, which means that once again, the cost of this in the future will largely be borne by Chicago taxpayers. Jennifer Walling of the Illinois Environmental Council says that means there needs to be better planning, and the city should be able to do this at a far more affordable price tag.
There's nothing that should make us that much higher than other cities, so I think it's something we really need to explore, and the city can bring those costs down by doing planning. I think we gotta, we have to take this issue really seriously and figure out how to bring the costs down, and in comparison to other cities that are replacing them and doing them much more cheaply than we are, still with union labor.
And bring the cost down, the city must add to that the perilously underfunded pension debt and Chicago's perennial budget deficits, and the math looks pretty scary. Today, Governor Pritzker ordered state agencies to slash 4% to free up revenue to offset any federal funding cuts in that realm. Seems like city leaders might want to start preparing to do the same. Tonight, Trump at the UN. Tough words for allies and adversaries alike. Illinois Congressman Jonathan Jackson weighs in. New evidence raises questions about the killing of suspected undocumented immigrant Silverio Villegas Gonzalez in Franklin Park 10 days ago. And Jimmy Kimmel is back, sort of. What Disney's latest move says about the status of free speech in America. And welcome to the Chicago Report. I'm Paris Schutz. President Trump has harsh words for other countries attending the United Nations General Assembly today, some of the harshest targeted to American allies.
It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you. I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell.
The president, however, also offered a bit of an about-face on Russia's war in Ukraine, as he has done multiple times, now saying he believes Ukraine can win without conceding any territory to Russia. And joining us with more is Illinois Congressman Jonathan Jackson, who has attended the UN Assembly the last couple days. Congressman Jackson, thanks very much for talking to us. How were those harsh words received, especially by some of the United States allied countries that perhaps didn't want to hear that?
Oh, they're trying to figure out what is going on in America. This is a world war. This is a world order that the Americas helped to create after World War II. This is the 80th anniversary of the assembly. And so it's located in Geneva and in New York City on the soil of America, because it was in part our creation, our idea. Not only has he turned the neck of the eagle from the reef towards peace. He's turned it towards war. This rhetoric only justifies his actions, from pulling out of the United Nations human rights, from slashing the billion-dollar commitment funding to the United Nations. He has sharp rebuke and almost scorn for the institution, and people were not all that surprised, but they are looking to fill the vacuum that now America is removing itself from or is creating.
And yeah, you mentioned that scorn he had for the institution, but then they said they fully support the United Nations, no intent to pull out or anything like that. So there has been criticism of the UN. Let's be fair. You know, for years, is it effective enough? You know, some of the policy positions nations disagree with. But what is the future of the United States' relationship with the UN?
Well, the world, since it was created in 1947, the United Nations serves as a gathering place for all nations, and it's quite remarkable. And it's located in New York for our benefit. And why you want to dismantle that, now have China to be a bigger, if you will, investor or supporter or contributor to the United Nations, gives them additional leeway and latitude for building friendships, relationships around the world. They've also increased its investment in Africa, doing 3-4 times as much investment and in trade with the African continents. So it's like, where's America going? It seems to be adrift under this leadership. The speech was full of a lot of self-congratulations, some veiled threats on who might have turned off the escalator, or if it was broken, what was wrong with his monitor, and then chastising other leaders. It was not diplomatic, and it was rather hurtful in the sense that we are not living up to our leadership expectations.
Yeah, you seem to reference that video of the escalator freezing as the president got on, and then his prompter, he says, cut out. He was upset about those things. There was some policy discussion on the issue of Russia's war in Ukraine. It seems like the president, and now he shifts on many issues. He shifted on the National Guard coming to Chicago. One day it's yes, one day it's no. We really don't know where it's at right now. Kind of similar with Russia and Ukraine, but today saying that he believes Ukraine could actually win this war without conceding territory. Does that give you hope that perhaps the United States is going to continue to back NATO and Ukraine in this war?
I would certainly hope that he would, but this is a let's make a deal presidency. That's what he said today, Paris. In all fairness, we have to wait to what's published in the press in the morning or what gets tweeted out late tonight. People cannot predict, and there's a certain level of decay and rot, if you will, in not being able to trust your partner's words. The Biden administration had done a great job, whether you liked it or not, and with its European allies, our allies, to continue supporting Ukraine. He unilaterally pulled out. He gets on the stage today and a self-congratulatory move and says, you know, I'm pretty good at this. I'm really good at this. Like, but you're the one that went against the whole EU, our allies, to take us out of giving support. Mr. Pete Higgs said, let us not forget when he stopped the weapons transfer to Ukraine and the president didn't know anything about it. So there's some gross incompetencies in this administration. And you can't get in a war, out of a war, in a war, out of a war every day, every other week, while your adversary, your opponent, is pounding you relentlessly. And his language is also very curious. He also said in that interview, in that language, that NATO can lead and that the Ukrainians can, in fact, take additional territory. Well, that's kind of deceptively tucked into the details, because NATO is a defensive pact in that Ukraine was violated, that all for one and one for all, they can defend. But if Ukraine tries to exceed the original boundaries, and that means it's offensive and NATO cannot support them. So he gave himself a back door to get out. Just have to measure every word.
Yeah, and the other issue, I'm curious if you heard any world leaders talking about some of these supposed incursions by Russia into the airspace of NATO countries. What are they saying about that?
Well, I did not hear any talk on that because I had to come back to D.C. But one of the issues that they were talking about is tariffs. And they said on that April 2nd day, when he said it was a day of liberation. I can't repeat the quote that the president said when he said people are going to be lining up to kiss him all over. Well, there is no line of people lining up to kiss him all over. As a matter of fact, on that day, it was a sad day for me because I said, what is he thinking about? America's 4.5% of the world's population, and we're 18% of the world's economy. He just told 95.5% of the world and 82% of the world's economy to trade with one another without the United States. Look at the pain our farmers are going through right here in Illinois because he's cut off because of his tariffs on China, and they're not buying American soybeans. It's a disaster for the farming community that voted overwhelmingly. He ought to do a town hall, ought to address the needs of the farmers. And I am so saddened to know that we cannot make up those crops and sales that we've lost because China has now made more investments into Brazil and is getting their soybeans from there. So we're going to see a lot of pain in our ag community.
And obviously soybean, a huge crop in Illinois, maybe the #1 crop that Illinois produces. All right, Congressman Jonathan Jackson, live from Washington, D.C. here. Thanks for talking with us.
Thanks, Paris.
You bet. And when we come back, Jimmy Kimmel gets unsuspended, but he won't be back on all of the nation's airwaves. We explain.